Hey guys, so today I'm gonna show you a hopefully quick guide about Spiritmaster. The goal is for you to understand what is the role of the Spiritmaster, how to build it, how to play it, and have a better understanding of the Spiritmaster in Aion. The Spiritmaster is a magic damage dealer that will mostly do damage over time. He has very good CC and will perform very well in all type of content. Really, the Spirit Master is a jack of all trades. He can do very well in duels. He will be very important in group content, PvP for the CC and debuff, PvE as well for the buff for the groups and the debuff on the boss. You can also solo almost all type of content with the Spirit Master. He's very decent at bashing mobs and so generating Kinas, but also being able to solo normally group content for your own sake. For me, a very important part of this is to set up your quick bar correctly. The goal is to be able, in a blink of an eye, to see if you have your cooldowns or not. For that, I would strongly suggest that you would actually group your skills in terms of what they're doing. So for example, in my own skill bar, I would have grouped all my pure damage skills all together here at the bottom, and then I would have like all my CC grouped together, all my debuff grouped together, all my pet attack grouped together, my personal cooldown for defensives, my buffs together, my pots, and on the side scrolls and so on. That these are not that important to have in sight, but definitely useful. So this is for me a very important part of being good at PvE and PvP is to group your skills together for you to be able in the blink of an eye to see, okay, do I have this CC, do I have this one, what is the next damage skill that I could do, and so on and so forth. Once you've done your grouping skills in your quick bar, the other very important part for me is to keybind everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. For me, um, I'm not sure that you could be the best yourself without having everything keybinded. This is definitely very important to be able in PvE or PvP to target something and to just send your skill without having to just move your arrow, clicking your skill. Okay, this one is the next one, and then I'm gonna click this one, and so on and so forth. You can check all around yourself, move at the same time, and also send your skill without having to change the position of your arrow. This is for me very important. So in terms of choosing what keybinds to use for each skills, the main rule should be definitely that the keys that you have the better access to should be used for the skill that you're using the most. I think that a better solution for you to force yourself to just use your keyboard and not clicking your skills would be to first keybind everything, literally everything, even if at the beginning you're not going to use them. But everything should be keybinded, shortcutted. So in this case, you're gonna just first use maybe like the first 5 or 6 skills that you're using the most in PvE, in your PvE rotation, something like this, and slowly adding some new usage of shortcuts. So you could maybe use those 5 to begin with and continue clicking the others if you were doing so, and slowly saying, okay, I know that the fear is this one. Okay, next time I'm using it, I'm gonna try to use the shortcuts and not clicking it. And slowly you're gonna build some muscle memory for you to use your keyboard, and you're gonna see that those shortcuts will slowly get in. So now that we've talked about sorting skills and keybinds, let's deep dive a little bit more into the Spirit Master. An important part of the Spirit Master is going to be to choose what stigma you're going to play with. So to be able to differentiate the two different trees, you could say that the first one is definitely a more spirit-focused damage dealing one. This is going to be able to buff your spirit very well. Spirit armor is definitely transforming your spirit in kind of a god mode. It's like you having a DP 2k all the times on your pet. It's definitely a very very good one, very very strong one. Um, I don't feel like this tree is very good in terms on PvP. You're definitely lacking some debuff that the second tree will give you. You have a very good damage over time skills at the last one, but most importantly, you have three big CC. You have binds, that is a silent for physical damage basically. You have a real silence for any usage of magical skill on any player really. Shackle of vulnerability is for me very very good. It slows the attack speed a lot, but also it debuff all elemental defenses, and having this on the player will make all your other skills do a ton of damage, definitely a ton of damage. And the two dispels are also very great for PvP. So I would strongly suggest, if you are new to the game and you are doing mostly PvE, probably to use the first tree. You don't need a Runeous Offensive. For me, having just a Strengthening Spirit is enough. You can definitely add the Cyclone Servant that are doing really good damage, but having a Strengthening Spirit will make your spirit really a god and will make the task really easier for you, as you won't have to tank any damage. Your spirit won't take that much damage, and you will be able to do almost all content with all these skills. If, on the other side, you are focusing yourself on PvP, I would strongly suggest to get the bottom tree. This will give you the most amount of CC in a duel or in terms of group PvP. Those will be very, very useful, and you have Infernal Pain that will deal a ton of damage. You won't have that much time in PvP in terms of group PvP to do damage, as your main focus will be to debuff and CC the other players, but definitely having a 1.5 second cast with Infernal Pain dealing that much damage is really really good. So you can see here my personal stigma. Um, these are the stigmas that I'm using all the time. I'm almost never changing them. The only one that I'm sometimes changing is Cyclone of Wrath. This is definitely depending on the content you're doing. If I'm doing PvP, I'm gonna change Cyclone of Wrath for Spirit Substitution, like in Dredgen. This is gonna help you a lot for your survival. If you are doing some high-end PvE content like Dark Preta, and you have maybe two or less physical damage, you're gonna still use Cyclone of Wrath to be able to up your own personal damage. But if you have in your team some good damage dealer that are physical, I would strongly suggest to get Spirit Wall of Protection with the Fire Spirit or the Magma Spirit that will increase the physical attack by 16% or something. So this is definitely a big increase for your group. Okay, so let's now talk about the gear and the stats. So basically, as a cloth wearer, you're gonna have very low HP. This is something to always keep in mind. You're gonna be very very squishy, but you not necessarily need that much more. Your role really is gonna be to do in PvE as much damage as possible, and in PvP as much control as possible. So for that, in PvE, I would suggest to have like a 4 or 8 slot with magical accuracy, just to be sure to not have any resists on the different bosses. For the rest, you can socket all magic boost. Definitely, this is gonna be the biggest upgrade for you in terms of damage over time. Uh, for your own bashing session to be able to generate more Kina, having more magical boost will definitely help you do that always a little bit faster. And also in terms of group content, having the highest magic boost possible will definitely help you as well and your teammates to down the bosses. So for PvP, the stats are going to be a little bit trickier. You could do as in PvE, so having a lot of magic boost. and a little bit of magical accuracy that will definitely deal a lot of damage to enemy players. The thing is, in PvP, in duels, you don't specifically need some more defensive, as the Spirit has definitely a very wide toolkits to be able to deal damage and also to control any type of player he's facing. The problem will be in group content like Dredgen. You're gonna be the main target of the enemy team all the time, that's for sure. If you're not, you're gonna be able to cast Fear Shriek freely and it's GG. So for this, you're definitely gonna need some type of defensive stats on your gear. First of all, definitely having a PvP gear with PvP defenses will help tremendously to lower the damage you're receiving. But I also chose to socket a little bit of health on each of my parts to be able to give me like 1500 HP more, something like this. And it definitely helps your cleric to be able to keep you alive. Let's now talk about the role of the Spirit Master. So in PvE, this is very straightforward. You're like a sorcerer dealing damage over time. So your main difference will be that you can buff your mates using like a Spirit Wall of Protection that will give a lot of increase for the physical mates you have in your team, but also to be able to dispel any type of buff that the boss or mobs that you're facing could have. This will be a very important part of your toolkit, is to dispel the shield, the reflects, the buff, the physical or magical defenses that the mobs could have. So for the PvP part, you're gonna see that it's definitely another story. As you are the main target of the enemy group, you won't have much time to do damage. That's almost for sure. The enemy team will try to stop you from casting Fear Shriek. That would be a big GG for your team if you successfully cast Fear Shriek on the enemy team. So as you're gonna be the main target, you're not gonna have that much time to do damage. So your most important things to do are to trying to silence or control the enemy cleric. This is the most important thing that you could do. Trying to use the instant fear on him, a good dispel on enemy damage dealer is always very good as well. Trying to cover silence the cleric. If not, trying to fear shriek, of course, the entire team. That will lead to a full kill for yours. And that leads us to the survival of the Spirit Master. You're gonna find yourself being in a very good position in terms of dueling people, as you really have a super strong toolkits. So that shouldn't be a problem. The problem will definitely be when there's a team that you have to fight. As you're going to be the main target, you see that your survival will be very hard. The best one would be, of course, to be bodyguarded by a Templar. This is a very common strategy, is to be bodyguarded by a Templar, and that will give you plenty time to cast Fear Shriek. In terms of your own survivals, you don't have that much, unfortunately. So your main ones, of course, is your Stone Skin. That will give you a good absorb. Also, the Stone Skin have a hidden PvP defense, so really the absorb is very good. And you have two other CDs that are going to be super long. So it's Contract of Resistance. This is going to be a one-time magic resist for 30 seconds. This is something that you could definitely use trying to pop and then trying to Fear Shriek. This will give you another resist for you to be able to cast this one. And the other one that I'm using in terms of PvP group is of course Spirit Substitution. Spirit Substitution will transfer all the damage you're receiving to your pet. So having this one up on your Magma Spirit on your Earth Spirit will give you a very big health pool and will help you get those Fear Shriek out. Those are pretty much all the survival tools that you will have. So I want to quickly mention the dual opener. So this will definitely depends a lot on what the other enemy players are doing, and you will have to react. So you can't have like a setup chain. But the general opener will be to control your opponent as soon as possible using body root or sigil of silence, depending if it's a physical or magical opponent. For them not to be able to cleanse them, you will have to put first 2 debuff on the target. Uh, the best one for me is of course a magical implosion, as this will leave a debuff, but also of course removes 3 buffs on the targets. And this will be followed by either one erosion or a chain of earth with the stun. This depends. And then you can freely put a body root or a sigil of silence without them to be able to react to it. And then you have plenty of time to be able to put your dots on them with the Infernal Pain, Cyclone of Wrath, or even a Vacuum Choke. So it's gonna look something like this. You use Magical Implosion, Erosion, Body Root, Root, and then Shackle, Infernal Pain, Cyclone of Wrath. At this point you can silence for them not to use any defensive CDs. You can stun them, one last Vacuum Choke, and the target should be dead. Of course, feel free to swap the use of Body Root or Sigil of Silence if the target isn't a physical one. The difference between solo and group content, you will definitely, in terms of PVE, will have to choose in between the stigma trees for your pet or for the dots. That's a personal choice, in my opinion. But for the PvP, you will definitely have to choose for your gear some different stats. If you're planning to play mainly solo, I would definitely suggest having an all-around good set with a magical boost, and then a little bit of stats with probably HP. That would be the best choice in my opinion. If you plan to play a lot of group content in PvP, I would definitely suggest having a set with either full magical accuracy to be able to control the enemy healer very well, or having a very high defensive stats with a HP or even magic resistance, as normally in group you won't be the main source of damage. Having a very good resistance, a very good life insurance, I would say, would be definitely a great help for you, your group, and your control input. So that's it for the quick video guide. Feel free to ask me question or to add anything in the comment section below, and I would gladly answer to it. See you guys.